Hey, what's going on, boys?
Hey, finally back.
Ahoy.
Yeah. Every time we take a week off for some reason or another, it feels like it's like 4 years. It feels like the first time we're doing this shit.
Yep.
Yeah,
Weird,
it does
right?
feel like it's been a long time.
I wonder why that is the case.
You're fucking up the routine schedule. Your body's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the rotation.
Your brain.
The rotation's all fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we missed last week. We missed the Halloween special, the Make Marvin
The
Watch.
finale.
The finale of
Yeah.
October.
Yep.
So today is going to serve as a makeup episode.
Yep.
Because I really wanted to talk about this movie. We're talking about Rosemary's Baby a little bit later in the show, as we do. I was excited for Marvin to watch this one, so here we are, making it up. How was everybody's week? 2 weeks, really, actually.
What episode are we on here?
Oh, this is, it's good. Yeah, that's a good call. This is
Yeah.
episode 70. This is Big 70.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, the Big 70.
70 episodes.
And since we're plugging shit, we're close, fellas. I don't know if you guys know this, but we're close to
17 away.
to the 500 subscriber
Yeah.
mark on YouTube. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It would be,
Could be one of the first 500.
yeah, greatly helpful. You'll be one of the first 500.
The founders,
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you will.
yeah. Well, someday we'll build a mountain with the 500 subscriber faces carved in. So yeah, if you like the content, don't subscribe if you don't like us. I wouldn't ask you to do that, but consider hitting the sub button. It's free, so just do it.
Yep.
And you can always check out harshlanguage.tv for all our links and some merch and shit. Check that out. Marvin's wearing some right now.
Yeah.
I didn't even
You
notice.
know what's going on.
That's the foam trucker cap.
Yes.
How is that, Marvin? You like it? It's comfortable?
I like it a lot. Yeah, it's comfortable.
Is it an everyday wear or you're just wearing it for the show?
Yeah, I wore it yesterday to a party.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
I got
Yep.
the beanie, but it's
Oh, shit. It was a little small for you, right?
yeah, I got a big ass head. I'm like 7 3/4, 7 5/8, and
Is
it's
it-
one size fits most. So like if you have a regular size head, it'll fit just fine. But
Is it your
Yeah.
head or is it all the hair you've got there?
that's both. I
You got a
mean,
good head of hair.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
small as fuck head.
Even some of the flex fit hats that I try and wear, like if it's the size too small, it just starts pulling up. It just slides up my head.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got a big head too, so I'm like on two notches on the
Oh,
thing. It's
yep,
hanging on
yep.
for dear life. Yeah.
hmm
I have a small head. Hats, like, actually, I don't really wear hats very often, as you guys probably know, but because
Mhm.
I have a hard time like fitting into hats, and I don't really like snapbacks. I was always like a fitted guy.
Yeah.
How would you
So-
play with your hair if you wore a hat, Dan?
Well, I don't play with it. Well, I do play with it. This is something. This is somebody else who watches has made a comment about me just playing with my hair the whole time. But like, it's a habit I used to do when I was a kid. I used to have long hair, and I used to just sit and like twirl it and shit. So it's like
Yeah.
how I think and focus. Don't shame
Yeah.
me.
I wasn't shaming you.
But yeah, harshlanguage.tv. It's a house for all our links and stuff, just in case you might not care to watch all the time on YouTube. We've got we're on Spotify and Apple
Some limited
too, so.
shirts in the store right now.
Yeah, some limited shirts. So go check that out. Have a little browse.
What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Episode 70. Welcome back. How is your guys' 2 weeks? How's it been going?
Mm.
Don't all
Damn,
answer at
It's
once.
been a blur. It's been a blur. I haven't done much really. Just
No?
still just been reading a lot of manga.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing, to be honest. Just right
Yeah.
on my phone, so it's really convenient. I feel
Yeah.
like when I try to, because when I do have some free time, I'm usually like in the bed, and
Mhm.
before bed, if I'm watching TV, I feel like I'll just be up all night if I'm watching TV. So
That's
I rather
fair.
read, because when I read, I actually get sleepy, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Smart.
And you, Dusty? You're in another
Well, I'm in a new
location
location
again?
again. Yeah.
This guy's in the
Back in
fucking.
California.
He's on another
Drove.
black op.
He's a traveling
Drove out
man.
here. Be out
Yeah.
here for a couple months,
Nice.
and then back home for
Yeah.
a couple months.
Okay.
Nice. That's cool. That's what's up.
Travel it up.
Did you guys do anything for Halloween?
Nah.
Any party goers?
No.
No.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
It was
There were
the weekend I traveled, I'm pretty sure. So
There were exactly 0 trick-or-treaters this year. And
Really? Did you have stuff?
yeah, we buy candy
Candy.
just in case, but there was just nobody out. Like I remember when I was a kid, the fucking streets were flooded with
Yeah.
kids trick-or-treating. You know, in little groups and waves going from house to house. Now it's like nothing. I saw one group and that was like my next door neighbors, but they didn't even come to our house.
Yeah. We don't have candy. We fucking cut the lights off.
You don't want to be bothered.
Everything. Yeah, don't fucking come to this house.
When
I don't know why people aren't really trick-or-treating. I mean, I don't know. Maybe all the people just running up stealing the candy out of the fucking
Did you see
greedy
that
motherfuckers.
on TikTok?
I saw maybe it was TikTok or Twitter. Like it was this
Group of moms.
adults too. Like
Yeah.
adults and kids taking all the big ass candy bars.
Right.
That was fucked up.
I think it might have to do with the fact that like everybody's a psychopath, so nobody wants to like get dragged
there's
into
another
somebody's
one.
fucking house.
there's another one where some kids walked up to an empty bowl and they took candy out of their bags and put it in the bowl.
Aw, wholesome.
Yeah.
Like we
Mhm.
talked about this when we watched some older horror movies, like Halloween specifically. I remember we talked about it, but like, you know, back in the day, in the 70s and 80s and stuff, there was like, well, in the 60s and 70s, all those like early decades, there was like definitely a lack of awareness for like just general safety. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why movies like that are usually scarier, because like you could see that happening. You could see like something like Black Christmas happening maybe, because like
Right.
the lack of technology, just it's just so carefree. People live with their doors unlocked like 24/7 and all that shit. So nowadays there's like obviously more of an awareness on safety. I think maybe that has to do with
Yeah.
the lack of trick-or-treating. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Selective trick or treating.
Been catching up on some of my shows. I started Loki. I'm caught up. I'm waiting for the finale next week. Have you watched it, Dusty?
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
watched it, Marvin?
No, I haven't watched the first season.
All right, I'm about to drop a bold statement. I'm curious what Dusty thinks. This season of Loki is one of the best seasons of television this year in 2023, and it's on par with Andor.
Damn.
Yeah, it's good.
Vince is a big fan, so he would probably agree.
Okay.
There hasn't.
Shout out to
that's-
Vince.
It's not an overreaction because there just hasn't really been that much TV
Well,
put out.
That's yeah. But he says even with all that, he said it's on par with Andor. So that is like a whole nother statement, even taking away
Yeah,
the
that's
best of
true.
2023 thing.
I truly believe it's on par with Andor. And I
That
thought about it.
Sounds like blasphemy, but maybe I'll
Listen.
take your word for it.
I thought about it for a couple of episodes. I was like, man, this is really good. Is it really good because, like, comparatively to more recent Marvel projects, it's like night and day different in terms of quality? Or is it really that good? It really is that good. And I've been watching it with a friend of mine, and she's like blown away by it as well. Really, it's like the acting of what's it? Tom
Loki.
Hiddleston. Yeah.
Mm.
He's like a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, yes.
And everybody on that show is actually really, like, for the most part, they're all really good. But like specifically him, Owen Wilson's been like really fucking good. Key Kwan's been very
Majors.
good. No, actually, he was probably the worst in it, I think.
Oh,
Funny enough, there's there's a episode where we're introduced to basically the first of his variants. I think the Timekeeper, they call him. He's not He Who Remains from the previous season, and he's doing it's like in the 1800s in Chicago, and he's like an inventor, and he has he
yeah, I saw
chose
that on the trailer.
yeah
Victor
he
Timely.
Victor
Yeah.
Timely, yeah. He chose like the most weird characterization, I guess you could say. Like he's like very meek and eccentric, and like definitely trying to pretend he has a stutter. It's just it comes off very, very bad. So that was the weakest episode in my opinion. But overall, the show's been very good.
Howard.
Well, listen, I'm sure you're going to talk about it in your news, but if that variety piece has any indication, maybe not. So
Who knows?
Is that variety piece in your news?
We can talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so I've been watching Loki. It's very, very good. I also started Goosebumps like the week of Halloween. Could not get through
I forgot about that.
Could not get through it. I didn't make it 3 episodes. I quit halfway through episode 3.
That's bad.
It is one of the worst things I think I've ever watched. Like bad. Has nothing to do with Goosebumps that you remember or that I remember even, because Goosebumps is more from my day than your day.
Yeah, for sure.
By
the time I was reading Goosebumps, it was all withered fucking books and shit from the library.
Withered books.
It had been out. It had been out for a minute.
Brown pages and shit.
Yeah, had the book smell.
Yeah, the old book smell. Fucking silverfish coming out of the pages and shit. Yeah, nah, it's very, very bad. And I'm surprised. It has a 6.7 on IMDb, which is in no way, shape, or form indicative of how good this show is. And I'm also very surprised because Nicholas Stoller is a co-creator of it, and I really like his work. He's done the Muppet movies. He did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Neighbors. Like he's done some really good comedies, but man, this is it's fucking rough.
Should they have made it like a anthology?
Well, that's where
Instead
some of the complaints lie, because the original Goosebumps series from when I was a kid in the 90s was an anthology, and each episode was just one of the books. Well, this show is not based off of any of the books. It takes concepts of the books and weaves them into this like totally original and uninteresting story. I'll try to explain it a little bit. It's like basically there's a cold open in the first episode where this kid like he's hearing like weird shit, and there's like a camera in his basement and a mask, and it's like he gets fucking burnt alive in his house, and then we're cut to like 2023. That happened in the 90s. From what I gathered in the first 3 episodes, these kids back in the 90s tormented this kid, played pranks on him, caused him to die. And now his spirit is back to punish the children of those kids who did that to him. So it's like very, very like Freddy Krueger-esque kind of type of thing. But each episode is named after one of the books, like Say Cheese and Die, Cuckoo Clock of Doom, The Haunted Mask. And then those concepts are in the fucking episodes, but not in the way they were in the books back in the day. So I don't really know. But really what it is the acting is horrific, dude. It is so bad. That's really all I got to say about it. Yeah, they're not even kids.
The kids specifically?
Yeah.
They're the teenagers or whatever?
They're in their 20s. No, the actors are 20s.
Oh,
it takes place in high school.
They're portraying. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like a weird Gen Z high school drama that has zero like level of like.
Is it better or worse than Wendy?
Wendy? I don't even know what that is. So.
What do you mean, the Addams Family show that was on Netflix? You didn't watch that?
Wednesday,
sorry, Wendy. Yeah,
I thought Wednesday was really good. So yes, it's way worse than that. I thought you liked Wednesday.
I did too, yeah.
Oh, you mean in the sense that it's like a teen drama?
Right. Yeah.
No, Wednesday was really good because Wednesday was like actually relatable, I feel like, in a way. This is in no way relatable to me being a kid. This was written by people who, it's like, you could tell the writing is like, this is what adults think kids sound like nowadays. And it's just not. Like, there's one chick, she's planning a party and she's like on TikTok and she's like, oh man, that troll edited my video and made me look weird. And it's like, what? And then everything is bad about it. That's all you got to know. It's so bad. The only shining light in the show is fucking, believe it or not, Justin Long. And he's not somebody that I would consider to be like a great actor. Like, I think he's good and he's good in a lot of things, but he is like far and away the best part of this show.
So was R.L. Stine involved at all, or he wasn't even?
No, I don't think so. I think he just probably gets a check.
I respect that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of getting checks, did you guys watch that John Carpenter thing I sent you guys a couple of days ago?
Which one?
Well, first of all, I sent you guys a breakdown of The Thing, which I wanted to talk about.
Mm.
And then I
Oh yeah, because our episode got voided.
Then there was a John Carpenter interview where I sent you. He was on.
I didn't see the interview.
He was on Late Night with Stephen Colbert, promoting the show that he has out now. What's it called, Dusty?
I don't know. It's about real life events in suburban neighborhoods.
I think it's called like Suburban Horror or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was on there promoting that show, and Stephen Colbert was like, "Hey, Suburban Screams." That's what it's called. He's like, The Thing is like my favorite movie of all time. It's my happy place. He's like, my family knows that if I'm watching The Thing, they are like, "Is everything okay?" He's like, "Because that's what I watch to like cheer me up or whatever." And then Stephen Colbert, he's like, "I'm not asking because I want to know." He's like, "I'm asking simply if you know at the end of The Thing whether or not Childs or
who was infected."
Yeah, and then John Carpenter. Yeah, and John Carpenter's like, he's like, "Well, I did." He's like, basically he asked is there a actual answer to that question that's been questioned for decades since the movie's come out.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter was like, yes, there is an answer, and the answer is clear if you look really carefully for it. He's like, I'll show you if you send. He's like, I'll tell you what it is if you send me a check. It's just every interview he does.
How much people he could crowdfund that easily.
People ask him all because that's just like go to. It's so funny. People are always like, "Oh, will you ever think about doing a sequel to this, or will you do this thing, or will you work on that?" And his answer is always like, "If there's a check." I just respect. Yeah, I respect him so much. He's like my spirit animal. Like all he wants to do is play video games and make music and watch basketball. Like he's just.
You should send him a check and have him write an intro for us.
I should actually. That'd be cool.
Oh shit! He might be on that Cameo or whatever.
Maybe
that website, that app.
So anyway,
I think it's called Cameo.
I ended up finding a video right around Halloween that was like breaking down. It breaks down the moment in every moment in the film where somebody gets infected. Yeah, or not infected. What's the other I word? Like sucked in. What's that word called? Anyway, taken over. Anyhow, and they basically just break down every scene, and it's like you can tell a lot of the time if you're actually watching closely, like when somebody becomes the thing. But obviously, Childs and McCready, you never really know. But one of the long-standing rumors about that ending that people have always like pointed to is that in that last scene when they're talking to each other, Childs doesn't seem to have breath from the cold.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like everybody's number one go-to thing is like he's not breathing. Even Keith David himself in interviews has said like, yeah, he's like for the longest time, he's like, I didn't think it really mattered who was infected. He's like, nor did I think it was me. He's like, but ever since people pointed that out, he's like, you know what? That was weird because they did that in post, meaning it was deliberate.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a deliberate thing if you watch it. Like there's no way it's not. So anyhow, but the other thing that this video pointed out was that Kurt Russell hands him the drink, right? And he's like, well, I guess we just sit here until we die. And I never actually thought of this, but like literally 2 scenes prior to that, McCready is throwing fucking Molotov cocktails. So you would assume the only bottles he has on him are Molotov cocktails, which means that he's handing Childs something that an alien wouldn't know whether or not if it's alcohol.
Not to drink. Yeah.
So he just takes a swig of it, and then Kurt Russell smiles, thus meaning that like, oh, Childs is infected. Which I
fucking love this movie.
I don't know. That was profound to me. But
that's amazing.
Yeah. What do you think, Dusty? I know because we never got the video never went out, and I can't remember. What's your position? Do you think either of them are infected?
I can't remember.
Yeah, one of them is infected, but I don't know which one.
Do you think it's Childs? I think it's Childs.
Could be either one of them. I don't know. One of them is though.
Great movie though.
Yeah. Childs was which character?
Keith David, the black guy.
No, I don't think it was Childs. I think it was.
You think it was McCready?
Yeah.
See, that would be an interesting thing too, because the movie is told through the perspective of MacReady. So that would be an interesting thing for Carpenter to do there. But man, what a great, fantastic movie.
Yep.
But that's what I've been doing. Watched Goosebumps, barely watched it, couldn't get through it. Been watching Loki, big fan of Loki.
Nice.
Very good.
So Marvel's back.
Well, I guess that's a good segue. Let's get into the news. But before Dusty gives his news, I'll give you guys just a little rundown of what I was talking about. So Marvin, a Variety article came out this week titled Jonathan Majors Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors backup plans, the Marvels, reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. And this has been making some waves in entertainment news this week because it's apparently got some people are questioning the validity of the article. Apparently
Several insiders are questioning the validity of a lot of the shit in the story.
Yeah, apparently the writer has put out some hit pieces about things in the past, and this seems like a very anti-Marvel type of narrative. But the long and short of it is that Jonathan Majors obviously is up in the air. Clearly Phase 4 has not gone well for Marvel, and perhaps they might be thinking that they want to pivot away from Kang into perhaps Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
And
I did read something about that.
Yeah. Now Doctor Doom is in the comic book world, Doctor Doom is probably Marvel's Joker. Let's just say that. It's like him and Magneto as who Marvel's biggest villains are. Even Thanos. Thanos doesn't have the impact culturally outside of comic book fandom that Doctor Doom does.
Yeah.
So they might be apparently pivoting to Doctor Doom in terms of a villain.
That would be sick.
Apparently there's a lot of rewrites that are happening. Dusty had reported on the fact that the Daredevil production got fucking shit canned, and they're completely reworking that show. A new rumor is that, well, not rumor, this actually happened. Apparently Mahershala Ali continues to be incredibly frustrated with the production of Blade, so much so that they fired the staff and they brought in one of the writers of Logan to rewrite the script, which that could be a positive because Logan is amazing.
Haven't seen it.
Yep.
Yeah, they have gone through 5 writers and 2 directors on Blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
But the biggest of the rumors is that Marvel is even considering bringing back the OGs for an Avengers film. That means Black Widow. That means Steve Rogers, Robert Downey Jr., all of them. Now, I sat with this for a little bit. Again, who knows how fucking true it is. But
I would wager most of it's horse shit.
Probably a good majority of it. I've sat there and said to myself, would I want the OGs to come back? Obviously, part of me is yes, because I love those characters, and it's a shame that we have to live without them. And the actors who portrayed them, for that matter, because they did a really good job. But also bringing them back would, of course, devalue Endgame.
Slap in the face.
Right.
That's what it is. Let's say the truth.
It would devalue.
Nobody wants that shit.
Yeah, it would devalue Tony's death. It would devalue Cap, doing what he did and all the sacrifices that were made.
It would devalue people's tears.
It would. My tears, specifically.
My tears.
There's still a puddle of my tears.
Even I cried when Iron Man fucking died.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know that I want to see a 60-year-old RDJ who's skin and bone vegan play Tony Stark.
Oh, shit. Skin and bone vegan.
That's an interesting take.
You think he's on PEDs while vegan?
I don't know.
I haven't seen that yet. That would be new.
I don't know, but this article says the key to reinvigorating Marvel may lie with the superhero arsenal that Disney acquired during its 2019 purchase of 21st Century Fox. That deal brought several blue chip heroes such as the X-Men and Fantastic Four back under the studio's control. Already fans are geeking out about the next year's Deadpool, which reunites Ryan Reynolds' Merc with a Mouth with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and a reboot of Fantastic Four slated for 2025. As a bonus, the Fox editions give Feige an opportunity to reimagine the X-Men franchise, the very property he cut his teeth on as a young executive at Lauren Schuler Donner's production company. So, yeah, I think that's if anything is true in that article, it's that the Phase 4. I feel like they scrambled to put out Phase 4. Obviously, we talked many times about the executive that was in position prior to this Bob Iger stint. Is he wanted like way more content that obviously put a hit on the quality of the products. And I think after Endgame, Marvel was at like a unique position where they could have just been like, okay, we do one of two things. We either take a fucking long break, let this shit just marinate, and come back with a fucking bang, like in a couple years with something, the next couple phases, or just continue to force out shit, which is what they did. They forced shit out that, quite frankly, nobody cares about. And like, I don't have any problem with these characters in the comic books. Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, fucking...
well, it was the timing and management of everything, though.
Yeah.
Like, this happened, like, 2020 was COVID. They had, Disney Plus was just starting out. They wanted a bunch of content for their new exclusive streaming platform.
Right.
So they pumped out shit.
Yeah. And not only pumping out shit, pumping it out at a rate that, as we mentioned last time, like never before seen from them. And with characters, again, that quite frankly aren't really that interesting, or at least they're not putting them in interesting stories. They're not giving us interesting, compelling
and not
stuff.
even that, but unfinished projects that Kevin Feige really had nothing to touch on, like the She-Hulk wasn't completely done, or CGI and Quantum Mania.
And the other shame of that is movies like The Eternals, which I truly actually think is a good movie, suffers because it didn't fit anywhere into this whole thing. Not that it had to, but it tonally didn't fit. It's like a movie you take like an auteur filmmaker and give her a Marvel project, and it looks and feels completely fucking different to everything else. Of course people aren't going to like it. It's just different. So yeah, I think, and obviously this Phase 4 and Phase 5 was well into production long before they won their legal battles for the other properties. I'm sure they would have wanted to follow up Endgame with like X-Men or fucking Fantastic Four. And I think they should find a way to just kind of like wrap this shit up quick, get it over with, let it be done, and start leaning on those characters. Because X-Men, X-Men, Fantastic Four, those are the premier Marvel characters.
Well, the writer's strike was half a year. I mean,
that too
bogged them down as well.
That certainly does not help, for sure. And they got to lean on fucking Spider-Man. And now there's rumors about what Spider-Man 4 is going to be about, like pitting him up against Kingpin, and Daredevil might make an appearance and things like that. So that could be cool. Because, you know, if Doctor Doom is Marvel's Joker, Spider-Man is Marvel's Batman. Like, he's like the most popular Marvel character, probably aside from Wolverine. They're probably neck and neck there, but so
yeah.
I don't know. It's just an interesting article, but yes, most of it is probably not true. So that's my piece. What do you got this week?
There's some truth to some of it, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah.
But a lot of the speculation, the insiders are refuting.
What do you got for us this week,
the strike is still going on. We're on 115 days. The SAG-AFTRA strike. It's been 2 weeks, so I guess we can just do a quick rundown. Last week, they met with via Zoom calls with the AMPTP. Throughout the weekend, they were awaiting the studio's response to the latest proposal. They said that they were on the verge of closing a new 3-year deal, and they were in the final stretch, but no negotiations happened for several days. And then the AMPTP came back with what they called their last, best, and final offer. So the guild is reviewing it right now. There's no negotiation scheduled. So yeah, and then people are saying October, November is the window where a deal needs to get done, or they won't be able to salvage TV series and movie slates for 2024. They're just gonna be fucked.
Damn.
Right.
So yeah, there's like I think 9 weekends or something like that aren't booked for movies next year. 9 whole weeks.
Oh fuck!
There's no movie release.
All that money.
All that money.
But yeah,
could cure homelessness instantly.
Let's see. They've gone back and forth on what it's said to be the final deal, but who knows?
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see. No negotiation scheduled.
It's their last best offer.
Yeah.
They're doing what they can.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Netflix again raised their prices since the last time you and I mentioned it.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It was like 2 days ago. I think what is it, like $29.99 now or something?
Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, speaking of, in another attempt to boost revenue, pause ads have made their way onto Hulu, Peacock, Max, Roku.
Pause ads?
Yeah.
Oh, when you
like when you pause your screen after a certain amount of time, there'll be like a Charmin bear pop up, and maybe it'll say something, maybe it won't. Like don't forget to wipe, or I'll be there with you, or some shit.
Can't fucking escape them.
I mean, pause ads are better than forced ads as far as like it actually interrupts and forces you to pause essentially.
Well, yeah, and it's nothing new. Like it just happens when you pause it. Like Roku has that little city on their hub, and they have McDonald's in the city. Like that's it's just part of the background, part of the menu, part of the interface.
Since we mentioned it just now, I took a look at the plans and pricing for Netflix. So for the standard with ads plan, that'll get you get that for a cool $6.99 a month, and that features ad supported, all but a few movies and TV shows available, unlimited mobile games, watch on 2 supported devices at a time in full HD, and you can download on 2 supported devices at a time. Then we've got the standard, which is $15.49 a month. You could add extra member slots for $7.99 each per month.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, and mobile games. Watch on 2 supported devices at a time. Watch in full HD. Download on 2 supported devices at a time. And option to add 1 extra member who doesn't live with you. So that's how they amended it.
So if you add people on, you still can only download on 2 devices at a time.
So you can
I have 5 people on my thing. We can't all download at the same time, even though I'm paying.
Yeah. They'll take your money, but you can only do 2 at a time.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And only 1 member who doesn't live in the same household with you. So keep in mind, that's all in the same IP address. Okay.
Man.
Then
if people knew what I knew, what we know.
Oh, yeah. Then you got the premium plan for $22.99 a month. Extra member slots can be added for $7.99 each. Unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, and mobile games. Watch on 4 supported devices at a time. In Ultra HD, download on 6 supported devices at a time.
Whoa!
Option to add up to 2 extra members who don't live with you. That's big.
Wow.
And you get Netflix spatial audio.
Which is probably shit.
Which is fake surround sound, yeah.
Yeah. How much was that one?
$22.99. That's a bargain, really, honestly, when you think about it. Yeah.
22. Yeah, a month.
That's a bargain. So if you are a family of 4.
It's a bargain.
If you're a family of 4, so let's say you have 4 TVs in the house, that's let's call it $23 and $8 per. So that's $31, $39. That's like over $40 a month for 4 TVs to have Netflix. That's ridiculous. That's like half of a phone bill. Like what?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And but they can't afford, they can't afford to pay the actors fair wages. And we have a couple little notes here in small print. The standard with ads plan may not be available through all third-party billing partners and packages. Please check with your provider to confirm availability. Note, extra members have their own account and password, but their membership is paid for by the person who invited them to share their account. Your plan determines how many extra slots you could add. The basic plan is no longer available for new or rejoining members. If you are currently on the basic plan, you could remain on this plan until you change plans or cancel your account. Jesus. Could you imagine paying for... I would never pay for Netflix ever again.
It's crazy. I was just looking at prices over the years. 2010, they were $7.99.
Oh yeah, those were the good years.
And that was a few years into them being digital at that point. Like, yeah.
That's
when
streaming. That's when we were eating good back then.
2007. I didn't even know about Netflix in 2007. I don't think.
The only reason
were you guys streaming on Netflix back then?
I used to get DVDs with Netflix.
No, I'm saying when they transitioned, I guess you started streaming then.
Yeah, because when they introduced streaming, they were partnered with Microsoft, so there was the Netflix app was on the Xbox. This is the first place that I saw it.
Shit.
So I
Wow.
and you used to be able to watch in a party. So me and my buddies used to just like watch Netflix together, and it was dope. And then they
I know
took
that
it
was
away.
the good old days. Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yep, that was the good old days, Marvin.
Damn.
Back in my day.
Watch parties.
Yeah. So anyhow, fuck Netflix. What else you got for us, Dusty?
Oh, Jonathan Majors, might as well talk about it. His motion to dismiss his case was denied, so he is going to trial. I think the court date is set for November 29th. This is with the interaction he had with Grace Jabari.
After Thanksgiving. Ain't that some shit?
He's facing misdemeanor charges of harassment and assault. He could face up to 1 year in jail.
That's a long time.
Disney is still holding out hope that he gets clear of this so they can close.
That's why they're pivoting. Let's be real.
That's a big reason for sure.
That's a big reason they want to pivot away from this.
It's a big point of contention for how they move forward. And it's compounded by the fact that the movies haven't done as well as they thought, and they pumped out too much content. So
yeah,
it's
so like
we'll wait to see what happens.
It could be. I feel like they're looking for any fault that the movies aren't doing well to like place the blame somewhere. Like, is that plot line the reason, or is you guys putting out too much shit the reason?
I think it's a mixture of many different things.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound to me like his legal troubles is just going to be over in a second, right? Like, look at how long the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing dragged on for.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, like, whether he's guilty or not, and let's face it, he probably is, but whether he's guilty or not, like...
Dude, I don't know. After that staging shit, his guiltiness went up by like 30%.
The staging shit, I actually forgot about that. That shit was wild.
That was some real villain shit.
Seriously. So like whether he did it or not, probably did. Like you can't operate with that. Like Loki was probably filmed a fucking year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Right. So like, anyhow.
Yeah, but he's the main protagonist, so they're gonna have to replace him or figure something out in the next Avengers movie. I
mean, they could do one or two things. They could either replace him now and call it a variant. That's the easy answer to be like, oh, it's a new actor. Well, he's just a variant, so he looks different. Call Terrence Howard. You know what they should get? They should get the dude who played the villain in Guardians 3. He was fucking good.
Oh hell yeah!
And you could just say the High Evolutionary was just a Kang variant the whole time. I don't give a fuck. That dude was awesome. Or you just completely pivot. You say Kang is whatever you want to do. Make some shit up, and move on to somebody else, aka Dr. Doom. Honestly, they don't need a huge villain. Like that's the big mistake I think they made. Right? They fell into Thanos by accident because the way that the Marvel movies
have to give some sort of adversity to your superheroes, because if it's too easy for them to win, it's not an interesting watch.
Well, allow me to finish, right? Because yes, I agree with you for sure. But the way the Infinity Saga built up was like a very slow burn, slowly but surely. Like Thanos, there was just his face and a stinger at the end of the original Avengers, and that was like just a little joke Easter egg that Joss Whedon put in there. And then they were like, oh, well, maybe we could actually introduce Thanos at some point. So let's start fucking introducing the Infinity Stones, this thing. After that appearance, he wasn't mentioned or seen until Guardians 1. And in that, he was in it for like 5 fucking minutes. Not even. where like he shows up and you're like, oh my God, Ronan is scared of this fucking dude? Oh shit.
Right.
And then the only other time you see him is in the stinger for, I think it was Ant-Man, where he puts the gauntlet on. He's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And that was that. But it was like fucking 10 years, 22 movies. They come out of the gate now. It's like, hey, Kang's here. Here's Kang.
Big.
In like the first fucking movie.
Huge villain.
Yeah, like I don't think they had to necessarily introduce another huge villain right off the bat. I think they could have focused on like the street level heroes and things like that. Yes, of course, obviously contracts and shit get in the way of all that stuff. But like, I'd rather see a Spider-Man movie where he's like dealing with like Kingpin running for mayor. And that's all it's about. It has nothing to do with like the fucking universe. Like every movie of Phase 4 has dealt with like the potential destruction of existence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
the payoff is the team up,
Right.
and you can't have the team up without a world-ending
yeah,
fucking
but
boss.
but the team up and the world ending scenario doesn't really hit as the same when it's done every single movie is what I'm saying. Like the
I
world,
agree.
like the universe wasn't in danger until Thanos showed up in Infinity War, right? Like, yeah, he was lurking in the background, but the actual like stakes didn't hit until they hit. Now it's like every movie has some sort of life world altering event where it's like, well, there are no stakes now. And you know the hero's always going to win, so it's like that makes the stakes even less. Whereas
Yeah.
for like a brief second, maybe they don't win. Everybody got fucking dusted. Now what? I don't know. It's just yeah.
Yeah.
They just gotta just ease up a bit and they'll be fine.
Stop
But-
chasing the dragon. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're not gonna top it. Most
You're not.
likely. What's the chances?
I
don't
said-
think, you know.
I actually said this to Ed the other day. Shout out to Ed. We were talking about it on the phone, this article, and I was like, hey, listen, I was like, if Feige is back to like being the actual like runner of all this shit and he has a solid plan, like I think they'll all be good again because obviously the guy knows what he's doing. He cares about the characters. He cares about the product. That much is obvious.
Hmm.
However, if it doesn't recover, like we were fed real good for
Yeah.
10 years. So like I'm perfectly fine with, you know how I only accept Halloween as like
I'm gonna be pissed if fucking the X-Men run is mid. Like,
Yeah.
if he can't,
me too.
I'm gonna be so pissed.
And
yeah.
you know how I always say like I only accept Halloween as the only canon movie? Halloween 1. I could do the same thing. I'd be like, yeah, no, this shit just ended at Endgame. That was it. Like I might go see him, but I won't accept him as canon. It was just
Right.
it was like Halloween 1's the only movie that exists for me in that franchise. And I could just say the first 10 years of the MCU is the only thing that exists for me in this franchise. Easy.
Mhm.
That's it.
I could do
Yeah.
it. I could do it. And I do it with other things
Including
too.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I could do it.
Yeah.
I could do it with other things too. Nightmare on Elm Street. I only accept the first one as canon. What else is there? What else do I only accept as canon?
When I just finished this manga Bleach, and
I heard
after
of
this
Bleach.
one, you've heard of Bleach?
Mhm.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's one of my favorites of all time. I just finished rereading it, and it's just one. It's after this one arc.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is just.
Hey,
I don't
listen.
like this.
Sometimes you can't top. Like you're never gonna top something, especially it's something like Endgame. Like I truly don't think Endgame will ever be recreated ever again.
It's too perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's too the story itself, but then like the introduction of the Guardians in the mix boosts it up.
Too many things had to
It's
work
like too
right.
many. Yeah.
And you know, I sent you guys a excited piece of news the other day that a movie we reviewed here and one of my favorite horror movies in like the last fucking 20 years
Oh yes, yes.
is getting a
It's
sequel.
happening.
So that was announced.
Maybe we'll get some. We had a lot of questions,
The
as
sequel.
everyone probably did. So maybe we'll get some answers to those questions, and maybe we'll get some new questions.
Yeah. So
I'm sure we'll get a lot of new questions.
So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, one of my favorite horror films of all time, It Follows, which we reviewed here, you can go check that out, is getting a
Yes.
sequel. And that sequel was announced a couple of days ago. And it's, I think, currently being shopped around. It's called They Follow. Takes place. I don't know if there's any information on it, but I know Micah Monroe is coming back in the film. I think some of the other cast members are coming back as well.
Micah is.
She was the main character,
Okay.
the chick. So it has no set release date. We don't have any confirmation of a release plan, but
Okay.
it's supposed to, just serve as like a direct sequel. So like, I'm sure there'll be answers to some things. David Robert Mitchell's directing it and writing it again.
Nice. Okay. I was wondering.
Yeah.
So it won't. It shouldn't be a cash grab then.
It shouldn't be a
terrible.
cash grab, especially since it's been 10 years since the first one came out.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
You would hope it's not terrible, but the reason I brought this up is saying I'm okay with accepting like something as canon and not accepting the sequels. This could be one of those situations because, to be quite frank with you, I don't think It Follows is a movie that needed a sequel. I think it.
Nah,
I like
yeah, I
the
agree.
way it ends in ambiguity and stuff like that we always talk about. But you know what? I'm excited for it because I love the movie, but I just hope it's not
It
bad.
doesn't need a sequel.
No, for sure. It
Right.
definitely does not need a sequel.
Especially not if it's gonna be bad. Just don't make it bad.
Hey, you never know. But like, what?
Ruin
And then what do you
everything.
do for a sequel with They Follow? Because that insinuates that there are multiple entities now, which means we're probably going to get into some entity lore and like how they operate and maybe their origins, and then that kind of that just fucking takes away the mystique, you know. So I hope that's not the case. I hope he's got something up his sleeve. I think he's a really great filmmaker. I mean, It Follows again is an amazing movie, and I know you guys also liked it. But he also did another movie that wasn't as good as It Follows, but I still enjoyed it. It's called Under the Silver Lake. I don't know. Have you seen that, Dusty?
I don't know.
It was with what's his name? Andrew Garfield.
I don't think so.
It's like a very bizarre, like mystery type of movie. It's not a horror movie. But
2018.
but I liked it, yeah. So, yeah, anyhow. So what other news you got for us, Dusty?
Still with Disney, Matt Shackman was on the Discourse podcast talking Fantastic Four.
Nice.
He was talking about Cameron Squires was contracted to work on a draft of the movie screenplay with Josh Friedman.
Okay.
And this is what he says. I came on to Star Trek 4 and worked with Josh Friedman, who I'm working with on Fantastic Four now, and Cam Squires, who I'd worked with on WandaVision, and we worked on a draft together, which was tremendous fun. I mean, we've been on our process consistently. He just goes on to talk about how they've been avoiding all the Disney drama that's been going on inside Marvel, and it's not distracting them. And their schedule is still scheduled for a May 2nd, 2025 release date, so they're
Okay.
the writing.
They can't be
prospect with guys
shooting, right?
He's familiar with. No. No, unless they're like shooting in Hungary with actors that aren't on the SAG list. No, there's no way they're
Okay.
doing anything like that. But yeah. And then, Gambit's probably dead. The Channing Tatum Gambit is dead, but it actually got pretty close to being made. Edgar Wright was offered the directing chair, but he declined.
For what?
For Gambit?
Oh, for
Channing
Gambit.
Tatum Gambit in the 2000s. Yeah. He declined directing it because it wasn't like an adored character for him. He figured like this is a love project that somebody else should take on.
Okay.
Because he was a little too old when Gambit came out, but we almost had an Edgar Wright directed fucking Gambit movie in the mid 2000s.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
looking up Edgar Wright right now.
he did the Coronado trilogy, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Yeah.
Oh,
You've never
wow.
seen any of those, right?
I saw Shaun of the Dead, I think.
Yeah. He did Baby Driver, which is amazing.
Yeah. So we almost got one. Simon Kinberg said he'd been trying to get him to do one after Bryan Singer went off to DC, but he never did.
I love Gambit. I want to see Gambit, and this guy seems like a fine director, but I don't want to see Channing Tatum as fucking Gambit, so I'm okay with it dying.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can't
For
picture
the
him as
best.
I can't picture him as Gambit, but I think he's a
Me
good actor.
either, but
and I like
sometimes
him.
those do make for the best performances.
Yeah, I don't
and you
know.
can't
It'd be
picture
interesting
someone,
to see his or hear his Creole accent, but
right.
Oh God.
But it's just my name's Jeff.
Okay.
My name's Jeff.
God.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all the Disney news. WB, not a lot of WB news here. There's some corporate BS. They're promoting and reconfiguring the executive structure of the Global Consumer Products and Franchises division. This is the division that actually manages their IP. President is stepping down to focus on family healthcare need, I think. Bruce Campbell, not that Bruce Campbell. He was heading the North American division. He's stepping up to replace her. And he's recruiting new blood for global management. Preston Lewis will absorb the North American region. Blah, blah. He's from South America. EMEA and Asia Pacific also retiring after 33 years. She's going to stay on for a little while to help. So all the people that are involved with managing WB's IP are stepping around down or getting reorged. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop going forward because that's a pretty big reshuffle on a corporate level.
Right. It could be a big impact.
Yeah. So, anywho, Constantine 2 news. Francis Lawrence did an interview with GameSpot. And he said, I quote, Keanu and Akiva Goldsman and I have been meeting and have been hashing out what we think the story is going to be. There's more meetings of those to happen. The script has to be written, but really hoping that we get to do Constantine 2 and make it a real or rated R version of it. So
Okay.
the script isn't done yet, but they've been meeting and talking. Keanu's involved. Francis Lawrence was the director of the original. He's coming back to do the second. So, yeah, looks like they're and things are moving forward. So that's good news.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
Super exciting.
Okay.
And then the last piece of WB is Dune: The Sisterhood, the prequel that takes place about 10,000 years before the movie Dune. It actually has a name. Dune Prophecy is what they're calling it, and it has an official release window of fall 2024. All this news came out on the day that the movie should have released, Dune 2, the sequel to Denis Villeneuve.
Denis
remake.
Villeneuve.
Yeah, so
Is he making it?
instead of releasing the movie? Well, he was supposed to direct the first episode, but
Oh, it's a show.
yeah, the show. This
Yeah,
is
this
about
is the show.
the prequel series that's going to
Gotcha,
take place.
gotcha.
It's still moving forward, and fall of next year. So
Gotcha.
For Max.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then I guess the etc. news. I debated on whether to talk about this one. Samaritan 2 is actually being developed by
What?
Amazon and Balboa Productions. Yep.
No.
I had to go look this one up, guys. This was like their number one movie for 3 weeks. Now, I think it was a 5.9, and now it's a 5.7.
Oh, no.
Or maybe that's what we got it. But I had to go look it up. I totally called this movie a forgettable 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Totally. I forgot it existed until just
The
now.
original writer, he's back to do it again. He was actually the original. Oh no, he was the original writer for Last Voyage of the Demeter. Before that one got rewritten a whole bunch of times, but yeah, Brad J. F. Schultz, he's gonna pen the script. So yeah, Samaritan 2. Looking forward to that one.
When is what's the show we watched she was in Oklahoma?
Oh,
Tulsa King.
Tulsa
When's that
King,
coming
yeah,
back? Is that coming
King.
back?
I
That
don't
hasn't
know.
been confirmed.
I don't know.
He's making this bullshit instead.
Well, yeah, he's got a couple other projects too. He just did the Lioness show, and he's got the Sheriff show coming out as well. So yeah,
Nice.
I don't know. Robert Kirkman was talking to Variety about the Invincible live action movie. You guys watched season 2 yet? You watched
I
it
haven't.
yet, Dan?
No,
I haven't watched
started
season
it yet.
1.
Oh, you haven't even watched season 1? Oh, that's pretty good.
No, I heard it was great though. Yeah.
Yeah. The movie is still in script development stage, is what he said. I think once we get the script to where it needs to be, I think we'll be in a good place and can move fairly quickly after that. But of all the factors I just discussed are things we're thinking about. How does this feel new? How does this feel different? How is this going to feel like something that's special? Those are very tall orders. He's talking about how to try to make the live action movie a little bit different, stand out from the show, but also be attached to the show. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about an Invincible live action movie. It might be pretty good, but I like the anime. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. And this was going to be my segue, but that's because it was last week. Shout TV apparently, they celebrated November 3rd as Godzilla Day. With what they called Masters of Monsters. It was a movie marathon of hand-picked films and hosted by John Carpenter. So John Carpenter picked his favorite Godzilla films
Mm-hmm.
and then hosted a marathon movie of all of them and talked about them.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was on a website. I totally forgot to check it out. But that was on the 3rd. So our actual segue, which is sad, Roman Polanski is in the news.
Oh, wow. Again,
Not for being a director or filmmaker, but in the news again for being a
piece of shit.
man who likes to, sexually assault women. So new court case with him. He fled the country, I think, after pleading guilty one time and has never been back. But case is still popping up. Case is still being filed. And
Marvin don't even know what we're talking about. Don't worry, Marvin. This is part of
Jesus Christ.
It's part of my notes.
So yeah, Roman Polanski's been in the news. No,
Yeah.
that's the news.
All right. Well, thank you for the news, Dusty.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna ignore your segue just briefly because I couldn't find a place to squeeze it in. But I wanted to talk about
What's the segue? Sexually
Roman
assaulting
Polanski.
women?
Roman Polanski.
Oh.
We'll get into it. And
He's a movie director.
I'm going to discuss it. But so before we get into the movie, I just wanted to talk about. There's actually a lot of stuff coming out soon this month that I'm pretty excited about. Yeah, and we talked about earlier, nothing coming out, but I just wanted to give a couple of little shout outs. So of course, Invincible season 2 dropped on the 3rd. First season was great. A couple of other things that I'm looking forward to watching, premiering tonight, in fact, or last night now because it's after midnight, was Lawman Bass Reeves, the latest from Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah.
That that premiered tonight. Got to watch that. Obviously, The Marvels comes out on November 10th. The David Fincher film that I'm very, very excited for, The Killer, comes out on the 10th. That's going to be right to Netflix. So guess what we're watching next week, boys?
Oh, nice. That's good.
We got your show, Marvin, the show I turned you on to but never watched myself, For All Mankind. New season drops on the 10th as well.
Let's go. Season 4?
Season 4, yep.
Yeah.
New season of The Crown is coming out. That's not my type of show, but I know it's very popular.
Never watched. Yeah.
Taika Waititi has a movie coming out on November 17th called Next Goal Wins. He's called it The Cool Runnings of Soccer. And it's based on a documentary about a soccer team. And I'm looking forward to that because obviously I love Taika Waititi. The Scott Pilgrim Takes Off animated series is coming out on the 17th. Talking about Edgar Wright. He is doing it. And all the original cast members from that film are coming back to do the voices. Excited for that.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
You've seen Scott Pilgrim, Marvin? Michael Cera?
If I have, I can't remember.
Okay. The Monarch Legacy of Monsters show premieres on November 17th with Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt. That looked interesting. On November 21st, season 5 of Fargo premieres. Very, very excited for that.
Oh, damn. Season 5.
Oh, yeah. So November, this is a big month. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out. This might be the last hurrah, however, but either way.
Until next November.
Yeah, either way, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. So I just wanted to run through that little list before we get into it. But, of course, we're here to talk about Rosemary's Baby once a month. Dusty and I, we alternate picking a movie to make Marvin watch, one that he hasn't seen but should have. And this month was October's month. This was my pick, and it is Rosemary's Baby, perhaps Roman Polanski's magnum opus. He's quite the filmmaker. He's had a really good career in terms of putting out bangers. He also did Chinatown. We can't forget about that movie. That movie's amazing. But Rosemary's Baby, this is up there. This is a game changer for the horror genre. And I think this might be the oldest movie we've made you watch, Marvin.
Has to be.
1968.
That has to be, yeah. For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie is it's very interesting that for its time, especially, well, it's based off of a book, so I can't give Roman Polanski credit for it. But, you know, it came out at a time in the 60s where there was a lot of cultural upheaval in terms of the civil rights movement. And for a movie to come out that's, I think, really about, like, women's rights and what it is to be a woman is interesting for that time period.
Yeah.
And that's really the themes here in this movie, but done as a sort of psychological horror thriller.
Yes.
It stars Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, Ruth Gordon, Maurice Evans, Ralph Bellamy, Sidney Blackmer, and a bunch of other actors. Charles Grodin's in this, and I didn't even recognize him. He was Dr. Hill. Holy fuck. Charles Grodin is the dad in the Beethoven movies. I don't know if you guys have seen Beethoven, about the dog.
I feel like I would have to watch those in school.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes, they're like top-notch actors of their time. Sidney Blackmer, Ruth Gordon, these guys. Yeah, so this is a story of a young couple. They move into a pretty fancy Manhattan apartment building.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna get even crazier, Marvin. Believe me. Wait till you hear the shit that I got cooked up for you. They move into this really posh Manhattan apartment. He's an actor. She's kind of like a homemaker, which is what they would put the title. That's what the title of that would be back then. And you know, they're a young couple in love, and they want to have a baby. And he's trying to get his career off the ground. And they meet their old neighbors who are a little bit off. They're not too. They're a little bit off. That's Roman and Minnie. And pretty soon after that, you start to a bizarre series of events start to unfold in which Rosemary becomes pregnant, and the elderly couple are taking a weird interest in her pregnancy.
Yes.
And you know, that's basically the plot of the movie. Turns out that she is giving birth to the Antichrist, and at the behest of, or at the intervention of a Satanist cult, basically.
Yep.
That the old couple's part of. So, Marvin, you said you watched this with Vince and your other cousin, right?
Yeah.
Marcus,
yeah.
Shout out to Marcus. I always see you in our comments.
Yeah.
Thanks for supporting us.
Yep. Shout out.
He said a really nice thing about us the other day. Did you guys see that?
Which one?
He said something along the lines of like, wow, you guys give off a really good vibe. It really seems like you just like talking about movies together or something like that. It was
nice.
Because
I did see that. Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, what do you guys think about it?
Amazing movie. I love this fucking movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surprised.
Oh man, I did not expect this type of psychological thriller from such an old movie.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It's effective.
I can imagine seeing this in that time, and like this had to be one of the scariest fucking things you could watch in 1968 or whatever the fuck it was.
Well, I
love this movie.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm surprised you did, because you usually have aversion to older films. You've seen this already too, Dusty, right? This wasn't your first time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I'd seen it, but yeah.
As I mentioned often, I grew up basically like almost exclusively watching horror movies, and this was one that, like, you know, my aunt and my mom always would, like, you know, the two movies that they would always mention, like, you can't watch The Exorcist, it's too scary, you can't do it. And this is also one of them. Like, gotta watch Rosemary's Baby, the movie. Quite honestly, I don't really think it's not a scary movie, really, unless I think you're a female. I think because this movie captures so well. I think and this sounds fucking stupid because I'm not a woman, but I think this movie captures very well what it is like to be a woman. In the sense of, like, not just a woman, but the expectations of a woman, and like about motherhood and like being a nurturer and stuff like that. And that's obviously very much painted in the ending of the film, which you said your cousins didn't like, right? They were mad at it?
Yeah, they weren't. They were mad. They were pissed about it. But for me, it made perfect sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is a legacy movie, baby. This is one of them. The scene in which Rosemary's raped by Satan is ranked as number 23 on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments. In 2010, The Guardian
23,
ranked...
that's interesting.
Yeah. In 2010, The Guardian ranked the film as the second greatest horror film of all time. I would love to know what the first one is. It's got to be The Exorcist. In 2014, it was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. The film inaugurated cinema's growing fascination with demons and related themes in the coming decades, and the novel's author, Ira Levin, wondered in a 2003 afterward whether his idea for Rosemary's Baby ultimately led to an increase in religious fundamentalism. So this movie came out at a time. This movie predates the satanic panic of the 80s, of the 70s and 80s. And that shit was like crazy back then. Dusty obviously remembers it more than I do because you were probably a little bit older then. But like everything was satanic. Fucking, you know, they play around with it in Stranger Things with like Dungeons and Dragons. Like all sorts of shit everything was like satanic, but that was all driven by religious fundamentalism. And I feel like a movie to deal with this subject matter in the 60s it had to have been just like mind blowing for the time.
Can imagine, dude.
But yeah, I find that the subject matter and like how it deals with like womanhood and motherhood, I thought is really interesting. Because not it's really obviously told from her perspective, and the movie's fucking called Rosemary's Baby, but like she's being fucking manipulated and
super gaslit.
Yes, this is the definition of gaslighting.
Literally.
Yeah.
Worst fucking husband ever.
Yeah, and this is the like, you know, talking about like how people will maybe like let you down or betray you, like she's dealing with it from like every fucking angle possible but like really started by the person whom you're supposed to be able to trust is your partner, your spouse, your husband. And that's why like when women talk about like not being able to trust men, like this is why, right? And people get like that's not always exclusive to men, but you know, men are scumbags. And sometimes they'll fucking make a deal with a cult to get your wife pregnant with Satan's child just so you could have some success in the acting world. But
and you can shut up about it, or you
why
can get
sell
committed.
your own soul when you can sell someone else's soul?
Exactly. But I actually love the slow burn of this movie because it is slower paced, and it's like slowly but sure. Like did you know what the movie was about, Marvin? I'm curious.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I really didn't know. Yeah.
So obviously haven't seen it before, and I know what's to come, but like, what did you expect that was going to happen? Like, what did you think this was about?
Rosemary, honestly, I didn't think, because I didn't really think too much about what it was going to be about, to be honest. I figured it was going to be scary in some way, but...
When did you start to realize what was going on? Because I think the movie does a really good job of keeping the mystery until it's revealed at the end.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah. I mean, damn, when did I think something was up? Probably when she was fucking getting raped by the devil.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good time. But before that, like, there's little, like...
But before that, I mean, in hindsight, there is little things. But first time watching it, not really.
Yeah, the old couple, like, super fucking weird. You know, the fucking vagrant chick she meets in the laundry room who ends up dying a scene later, like, wearing the weird necklace. Like,
yeah, the stuff in front of the door, like the door being barricaded, that was like...
when they're just innocently being shown the apartment, it's like, oh wait, this closet's barricaded. Yeah, very bizarre. So yeah, I love the slow burn, and of course there is like a moment where it peaks when she is raped by Satan after being drugged by her husband. I don't really think that scene is that scary, but again,
it makes it scarier the fact that she's like semi-conscious.
Yes,
also. And
then is being gaslit.
She can't even move.
She wakes up covered in fucking scratches, and the husband's like, "Yeah, no, I just had sex with you."
Crazy.
Yeah,
that guy.
Which rape.
In and of itself is like one of the most wildly inappropriate things, like having sex with your spouse while they're sleeping. Like what?
Yes.
Oh my god, dude. But the thing, like, I don't think it's a scary moment, but it's scary if you're a woman, because, like, let's face it, like, that's probably one of the, if not the top fear women live in every day, of like being raped, right?
That's true. Yeah.
That's something that's, I mean, men can be raped, but like, you know, you don't really hear of that happening too often. So like, I feel like that would be like such a profoundly scary moment for a lot of women to watch this. In fact, my one of my ex-girlfriends back in the day when I was younger, in my like early 20s, my first girlfriend, she had like a very big fear of being raped. And we watched this movie with Clive Owen. Dusty, do you remember that movie with Clive Owen and what's her name from Friends? The redhead from Friends?
The Bank movie?
No. I can't remember the name of it. They're like con men or something. I forget the name of the movie, but there's like a pretty gratuitous rape scene in that movie, and like I remember watching it with her, and she like could not fucking handle it, and rightfully so. And I feel like this could be a scene like that for a lot of women to have to deal with. But yeah, so it's like she's literally giving birth to the Antichrist. So after that scene happens, like that's when all the psychological stuff starts happening, because she's being gaslit by her husband and the couple, the doctor, and like we as the audience are also being gaslit. I feel like, because that's why I asked you specifically. Like I know what's going on, Dusty knows what's happening, but you watching it for the first time, you don't even really know what's happening.
Yeah.
So you're just as confused as she is.
Right.
I think. And the movie like does that like pretty brilliantly. That's why I think the ending of the movie is a little bit cheesy in terms of dialogue, because there's a lot of exposition there.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like wrapping it up for you. It's like, oh yeah, like we're a cult and we were impregnated.
They just became assholes and like
yeah. Like this was our plan the whole time.
Yeah, it was a little cheesy.
But it has to be, because it has to give all that information, because the film up until that point doesn't give any information. You kind of get, put the gist together when, her friend Hutch like gives her the fucking deets that he's dug up on the neighbor, and that like he's the son of a fucking famous Satanist and like all this crap. You start to put
that was great. The Scrabble.
Yeah.
Scrabble scene. I like that.
And like she's figuring this shit out like while being drugged half the time, and like it's a very effective story, I think. And by the end of the movie, she has the child, and they're still gaslighting her. They tell her the kid is dead.
Yep.
And she hears the baby crying, and she goes into the next apartment, and like obviously there's the famous scene of his eyes. What have you done to his eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he looks like a little fucking beast child. And the movie ends, I think, with one of the best scenes, I think, in movie history, which is her just sort of, she just goes over to like rock the cradle after like not being able to accept the fact that but that's what this movie, it's like, it's about motherhood and like how paternal, like I think we talked about
child.
Yeah, I think we talked about this with Barbie, and that's a lot what Barbie's about. Like the experience of men and women is just incredibly different inherently. And like women, a friend of mine, recently was saying to me, like, women have a higher capacity for love than men do, or a different capacity for love. And I think that's true because women are paternal. Like they literally grow other human beings like inside of them. So it's like, it's different than a dad just being a dad. It's like, oh, my wife had a baby and I'm a dad now. It's different for a woman. It's like, it's such a different thing. And the way this movie ends, I think, is great, because it's like, despite giving birth to Satan's child on earth, she still can't shake the motherly instinct of like, oh man, that's my baby. And yeah, so it ends up with her, rocking the cradle, and we get that score from the beginning of the film that's actually Mia Farrow humming the lullaby, which I think is one of the greatest scores in movie history. You got Jaws, you got Indiana Jones, you got Star Wars, you got Superman, you got Halloween. There's a lot of great scores over the years. Jurassic Park. This is up there, and it's just that.
Yeah.
It's like haunting, actually. I think.
Yeah.
Dusty, what do you think of this movie?
I think it's a great movie. It's a really good psychological thriller, I think is what Marvin called it. Was spot on. It doesn't really feel like a horror movie to me, but I could see how it would be a horror movie, especially if you're a female character or a female person watching this.
It's elevated horror.
Yeah. There's some weird stuff in this scene, and like, I don't know, some of the stuff, like I get that it's supposed to be suspenseful, so you're trying to get into the character's frame of mind a lot, but like when they were doing the sex, she's like, let's have a baby, and they're like fidgeting on the ground for about 5 minutes trying to take their clothes off.
Oh yeah.
What are we doing here, guys?
Well,
come on now.
Well, no, actually, I disagree with you, because I think one of the big strengths of the movie is I think it really depicts in a very realistic way like what it is to be a couple, right?
Sure.
Like I feel like, because that's what you do when you have sex with your partner. Like a lot of times in like movies, like sex scenes are like very like over dramatic. Like remember the scene we made fun of it in Top Gun?
Yep.
Yeah, the kiss.
Like sex
Classic.
scenes are classic. Like sex scenes in movies are portrayed a lot like that, and it's always like with this like overblown like love where it's like there's a lot of times where it's like the two people or the scene is depicted in a way where it's like they just have to have sex right at that very moment. They like rip their fucking clothes off and you're like
Right.
smashing people against walls and shit. Like that's not how real life is. Real life is like you're sitting on the couch watching TV and you're like, hey, you want to have sex? It's like, okay. Like that's how it happens most of the time in a relationship that you've been in for a long time. So I thought that's actually a really
but it felt more like it was their first time having sex rather than like, because I mean, like the guy's lying on his back, got skin tight jeans on with his legs straight in the air, and he's trying to get him off. Just watching him, I'm like, bro, if you stood up, your pants would be down in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that speaks to the chemistry of the actors more, but I do think that's like a very realistic portrayal of what it's like to be in a relationship and like the mundane aspect of being in a relationship for a long time. Like, you know, you come home from your daily test. Hey, how was your day? It was all right. And it's like, you know, it I think the movie portrays that like mundane relationship day to day very well.
I think it gets a lot of it right, but I think I think he spent a little too much time on some of the scenes.
That's fair.
But
I think
it's a great movie.
Yeah, I think the acting in this movie is fucking phenomenal. I mean, that's another thing too that I think speaks to what you're saying too, Dusty, is that like this movie is like right at the cusp of when Hollywood went from like that really old-timey acting style of like, oh, gee, Martha, like...
You were acting like you were on the stage of a play almost.
Well, right,
God, yeah.
To what we have now, which is acting is not really... Like, the best way I think I could describe it as a person who is not an actor is that, like, back in the day, they were acting like not the way people speak or talk. But nowadays, what is considered to be good acting is to deliver something as natural and realistic as possible. And this movie was like right on the cusp of that, I feel like, because there's a lot of scenes where Mia Farrow, like she has that like old timey sort of like acting, like his eyes, what have you done to his eyes? Like nobody would talk like that really. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think what you're saying with that like sex scene or the pre-sex scene has a little bit to do with that personally. Right. But I do think the acting in the movie is great. John Cassavetes is great too because he plays the like the role so well. Like you don't know he's a piece of shit until you finally know. Like because he fools us the way he's fooling her. I don't know. It's very very well acted movie. I thought.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
And Vincent,
I do think she was a little too dumb at some moments. I think though.
Well, again, it
was intentional, but
is it dumb? Is it naivety? Because again, when you're in a relationship, you don't want to see the negative aspects of somebody that you care about, right? Or you don't, or if you're in a relationship, like a lot of people tend to ignore like red flags. Like I know I have in my relationships. I'm sure both of you guys have. Like because you already like the person, or you have feelings for them, so you don't really want to admit like the negatives of them. And I feel like that's probably
true,
part of it. But
that's true.
And I mean, I thought she was like, once she realizes like what's going on, like she's trying her hardest.
Oh yeah, she was on her shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like when when she was super sick, and it's like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, people are telling you it's fine, but you're a grown ass woman. Like you got to know, like, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just like a little nitpick.
You know who the real villain of the movie is fucking Dr. Hill. Fuck that guy.
Right.
You think she's fucking safe, he's going to save her ass, and he calls fucking her husband up. Like,
I actually knew that was going to happen because of his face throughout the whole time.
Well, that's the joke that Dusty made earlier. Like, sit there and accept it, or sit there and shut the fuck up, or you're getting thrown into a mental hospital. Because, like, you know, that's like, again, one of the big horror elements of this movie, I think, is being in a situation that you can't convince anybody else of. I just made myself look like Conan O'Brien. Holy fuck!
And you have no control over it.
Right.
Yeah, it plays a lot on, like you said, the woman in that time period thing. Yeah. Like,
well, time
they're more
period
likely to believe the husband and the doctor over the actual woman. Yeah.
Time period plays a lot. you know, a lot into it too, because her one ally in this movie is Hutch, and he obviously gets dealt with. And then you hope it's like Dr. Hill, but like he doesn't believe her, as good of a doctor as he is. And that's another cool thing about the movie. He's like a young, hip, like doctor who's like,
and even he fell into that. But nowadays, obviously, you know, it would probably be a little bit different because there's more of a cultural mindfulness to believe women and in situations where they're being mistreated, but also like just technology in general. Like, you know, they had fucking rotary phone. She has to use like a phone booth to call the fucking doctor.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Some lady went to some just like down the street MD doctor and was like, oh yeah, this doctor whose name I'm sure you know because he's well recognized.
Yeah.
Him and my husband are trying to get me to have the devil's baby.
Right.
That guy's probably going to have you committed anyway.
Well,
this movie was like basically like Scientology, but Satanism.
A little bit.
Because like the guy's selling out his fucking wife to become rich and famous.
Mm-hmm.
Did Marcus and Vince like it, other than the ending?
Other than the ending, yeah, they did.
What, did you guys watch it on Discord?
Yeah, we did.
What didn't they like about the ending? That she accepts the fact that it's
she didn't fucking wild out, and she should at least stab one person, which I agree. She could have killed a few of them bitches
she could have
raised
took a
the
couple
baby.
of them
That's
out.
fine.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have even cared because, you know.
I think my favorite part of the movie is like the slow burn of it too. Like I started talking about it, how John Cassavetes does like a really good job of really not revealing the fact that he's fucked up until like it is revealed. But like slowly but surely throughout the movie, there's like all these weird coincidences that they start talking about, but they talk about them like sort of like as throwaways, like, oh man, the guy who like got the part that I wanted, like just he happened to go fucking blind yesterday. That's crazy.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, now I got the part, and it's like
shit luck.
Just little by little, these little things start to happen, which I thought was really great.
Wasn't his name the actor's name the same as one of the witches' names or something? Like, why does it seem so familiar?
Yeah, they were the Cassavetes.
Yeah, so it was similar.
It's almost. It's actually it was Roman and Minnie Castavet. His name is Cassavetes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Okay, got it.
So, yeah, that's the plot of the movie. Let's get into the weeds of the movie, though, Marvin.
Oh, okay.
The last time we met up, we talked about the old curse that surrounded Poltergeist, yeah, and how all the like the weird deaths took place after the movie came out. And I mentioned to you, I was like, well, Rosemary's Baby has some interesting curses of its own. So let's get into those.
Oof.
Now, these circumstances are very bizarre, actually. And you know that I
can't wait to hear this.
I don't really adhere to any of this stuff. I don't even know if Dusty knows what I'm about to talk about. But so I'm sure he does. But so after the movie came out, right?
Yep.
There were a long list of circumstances. So there's one that is really. Hey, I'm trying to scroll through my notes. I might as well just shut up and look for him. Hang on. Here we go. Okay, so The Omen and The Poltergeist. Those are like the two biggest movie curses. The Omen was also a movie about like the devil's child and stuff like that. But just a couple of them. The composer of the film, Christoph Komeda, he fell off a cliff and died after spending 4 months in a coma after this movie came out.
Oh, no, that's way too similar to the fucking curse they put on Hutch.
Yeah. William Castle fell ill with kidney stones and almost died. He recovered, but his career didn't. He never made another hit movie after that.
Damn.
And the film ended Mia Farrow's marriage with Frank Sinatra. So at the time, she was married to Frank Sinatra, and apparently some sort of I don't know what the specifics are of their divorce, but she was actually served divorce papers while on the set of this movie.
Whoa.
However, the most high-profile piece of misfortune related to this film was the fate of Roman Polanski's wife at the time, Sharon Tate. And you might be saying, Marvin, that name seems a little familiar. Well, it should.
It does.
It should. Sharon Tate was in the running for the lead role before Mia Farrow got cast, but she continued to hang around the set because she was married to Roman Polanski, and she actually appears uncredited in one scene. And the film was still playing in theaters when Sharon Tate's fate befell her. And the reason her name sounds so familiar, Marvin, is because she was one of the victims of the Manson family.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And so the movie was still in theaters when Sharon Tate was murdered by the Manson family, along with 4 of her friends in that famous killing. And Sharon Tate was also, this is where it gets really strange. Sharon Tate was pregnant at the time she was killed. Yeah. So there's some conspiracy theorists out there that suggest that Roman Polanski, like Guy in the film, offered Tate as a blood sacrifice to ensure the success of his career.
Damn.
Now, as Dusty mentioned, Roman Polanski fled justice and the United States after he was arrested and charged with drugging and raping a 13-year-old girl in 1978, and he's never returned back to the United States since. I think he died, a couple years ago, right? At this point? Did he die? Or am I making that up?
No.
I thought he died. Oh, no, he's 90.
Wasn't he just accused of some other shit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
he's
90. Fucking guy. So he's never returned back to the country.
Damn.
But the bizarre coincidences pile up, Marvin. Helter Skelter, which is the title of the Beatles song, it was written on the wall of the murder scene in blood of the Manson family murders. And apparently Charles Manson had interpreted several songs from that album, the White Album, as a coded message calling for a race war. Well, strangely enough, Mia Farrow was actually present while some of that album was written. So,
oh my God.
So she was like hanging out with the Beatles.
Holy shit.
It gets weirder still, Marvin.
This is like Scream levels of lore depth.
12 years after Rosemary's Baby was released, John Lennon was fatally shot outside of the Dakota in New York, which happens to be the very building where Rosemary's Baby was filmed.
What?
Yeah. So
what the hell is happening?
Yeah, so there's a lot of bizarre occurrences.
How is that not number one? Like, what the fuck happened? And
I don't know.
Poltergeist wasn't even that bad.
There does seem to be a strange connection though with like the Manson
That was
family.
way more connection. Yeah,
Like
Poltergeist, it was just like a lot of deaths. But
yeah, this is like
a whole plot. You can make a movie out of this fucking.
Yeah, this is like Sharon. This is like Mia Farrow was hanging out with the Beatles while they wrote the White Album. The White Album inspired Charles Manson to commit heinous murders, where one of the victims was Roman Polanski's wife. And then John Lennon gets shot outside of the building where the movie was shot. It's very bizarre. Like,
a lot.
Like, it doesn't get much stranger than that. It could be just a series of coincidences. Who knows? Probably is.
Lizard people.
Series of unfortunate events. Yeah.
And Roman Polanski was just fucking raping and drugging fucking 13-year-old women. Fucking bitch. But it does get even weirder though. That's like the weird shit. But then Mia Farrow has been involved in her own weirdness later in life because she was married to Woody Allen, and she's at the heart of Woody Allen's whole big issue between himself and her daughter. What's the daughter's name? Dylan Farrow. So I don't know if you're super familiar with this, but in 1992, Woody Allen was alleged by his adoptive daughter, Dylan Farrow, who was 7 years old at the time, to have sexually molested her in her home, the home of her adoptive mother, Mia Farrow, in Bridgewater, Connecticut. Woody Allen, of course, denied the allegations. So Mia Farrow and Dylan Farrow have accused him of molesting Dylan. However, his accusation back to them was that Mia Farrow was actually making up the story and grooming Dylan to make these allegations because Mia was mad that Woody Allen actually ended up marrying her other fucking daughter, adoptive daughter, Soon-Yi Previn.
Oh, I did hear about this.
Yeah. So Woody Allen's not right in the fucking head. Okay.
That's fucking sick.
He has plenty of allegations against him as well.
Yeah. Woody Allen and Mia Farrow began a 12-year relationship in 1980, during which Farrow starred in 13 of his films. They maintained separate apartments in Manhattan throughout the relationship. Farrow lived on Central Park West and Allen on Fifth Avenue. They did not get married. Both had been married twice before. When the relationship began, Farrow had 7 children, 3 biological sons from her marriage to composer Andre Previn, and 3 adoptive girls, 2 Vietnamese and 1 Korean, Soon-Yi Previn, and 1 adoptive Korean boy, Moses. In July 1985, she adopted Dylan Farrow from Texas. Allen was not involved in the adoption, but when Dylan arrived, he assumed a parental role with her and began spending more time in Farrow's home. He and Farrow went to Europe several times with the Farrow-Previn children between 87 and 89, although the judicial investigation concluded that he remained aloof from Mrs. Farrow's other children. So, he was in a relationship with Mia Farrow. They weren't married. He ended up marrying one of her adopted children, Soon-Yi.
That is insane.
So his accusation is that she was just mad about that and then got Dylan to accuse him of sexual molestation. But how weird do you, like, I get that it's not his blood, but how weird the fuck do you have to be to marry your partner's adopted daughter?
That is fucking wild, bro.
Like, what? So these people are fucking weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so when, like MAGA fucking QAnon conspiracy theorists talk about like how Hollywood is fucking weird and like into like the occult and shit, like I could totally believe that that's the thing. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So maybe they stumbled onto some shit.
That's
true. I'm sure there's some truth to some of it, and some rings, they're doing weird shit.
But as somebody who's like analytical and I try to be as logical as possible, it's really hard for me to put a logical spin on the whole shit with like Helter Skelter and the Manson family and how just all the interconnectivity of it. And the only thing I can say is like, it's just a bunch of coincidences, I guess. But it is weird, right? It is weird.
It is. I'm sure they have to have a killer documentary about that.
There's got to be. I got to find one.
But it was already a part of, I think Rosemary's Baby was on that haunted films or whatever that I was talking about.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was.
When we watched I'm pretty sure it was on that list.
What was the name of the show?
Haunted Films or Cursed Films. Cursed Films, I think.
And it's specifically about film curses?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exorcist is up there. Poltergeist is up there.
Oh, let's see.
Berry,
Season 1 has Twilight Zone the movie, The Omen, The Exorcist.
Yep.
Season 2 has Cannibal Holocaust, Serpent in the Rainbow, Stalker, Rosemary's Baby, Wizard of Oz. Okay. Interesting. Seems like an interesting show.
Yeah.
But yeah, weirdness aside, obviously Rosemary's Baby has a lasting presence in horror movie and just movie culture in general. We see its influence on a lot of movies these days, like Hereditary, for instance, obviously is, something from that. And this is a movie that predates other like occult type of movies. I think it's a very early time for the subject matter to be done. And your boy, Marvin, Jordan Peele, said that this is his favorite movie and was a big inspiration for him putting in the social commentary aspect to Get Out.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, certainly has a lasting impact and presence. It has an 8.0 on IMDb. I think it's a little bit low. Before we give our reviews, though, is there anything else you guys want to talk about it?
No. Just still can't believe this was a 68 movie. That is this crazy.
It is, yeah. Very old.
Yeah.
All right, 8.0. Let's give our ratings. I would give this an 8.5. I'm going to give it a bump a little bit.
Let's see. I think I'd probably say it's right at the 8.
Right at the 8?
I would give it the 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dusty?
Yeah, I'm with Marvin. It's an 8.
It's an 8? Okay.
Almost, yeah.
I got to bump it up a little bit because I think the acting was like really, really good. Aside from like, if you get past like the oldness of it, I think they all do a really great job of like portraying what they had to. Like I think Ruth Gordon and Sidney Blackmer, I think they were like, they were the old couple. Like,
oh, okay.
Like Minnie is like weird enough to where you could either be like, she's up to something, or she's just like a lonely old lady who wants like some companionship. Yeah. Same with Roman.
Yeah.
John Cassavetes, again, he's like, he's he's like really a nice guy throughout the movie. He seems like a very supportive husband until he doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think for that reason I gotta give it the bump. But 8s are good.
Crazy thing is, from the incept, like from when we are seeing the movie, from the first opening scene, he's already plotting. The whole thing was a plot. Moving there.
John Cassavetes?
Yeah.
You think so?
Moving there.
See, that's an interesting take because I actually never looked at it that
isn't
way.
that like that building, like it's like a fucking witch building, basically? Like all the witch people live there?
That was like the rumor, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
she was warned by friends about the thing going on to the building.
I think it was already in the works. Like, yeah, you're gonna move here. We're gonna fucking have the devil rape her as the baby. We're gonna be connected to you because it was the room was already connected. He moved right in the fucking perfect room. I think it was a plot from.
That's
first
an interesting
scene.
That's an interesting take. I never thought of it that way. Purely because he doesn't even like want to live there. I feel like when they're looking at the apartment, she convinces him.
That's the con.
But that's the major gaslight. That's the thing.
That's the con. Yeah, I don't like them. Those guys. I don't want to live here. Meanwhile, yeah, exactly.
I made you think that you want to live here, but yeah. Again, the film, as we said, it deals with like paranoia, women's liberation, Christianity, the occult, like devil shit. It's very interesting stuff to take place in 1968. I don't know of another movie that's this old that deals with these like very like taboo subjects, and yeah, just a couple of
Look Who's Coming to Dinner.
Oh yeah, I do recall that one.
Sidney
But
48.
it was a box office success, grossed over $30 million in the United States at the time.
Nice.
It received universal acclaim and was nominated for several accolades, including multiple Golden Globe Award nominations and 2 Academy Award nominations, winning Best Supporting Actress for Ruth Gordon and the Golden Globe in the same category. Since its release, Rosemary's Baby has been widely regarded as one of the greatest horror films of all time. In 2014, the film was selected for, we read that already, National Registry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so big movie, Marvin, under your belt. How do you feel?
That's a good one. Yeah, I love it.
I'm glad you like that.
I want more like this.
I thought you might find it boring, to be honest, because it is, like, again, a slow moving movie. So
yeah, I mean, but they did a good job of capturing you aesthetically. So
yeah,
first off, so yeah,
it keeps you interested. It's too bad everybody involved in this movie became a fucking weirdo. Unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyhow, there it is, folks. There's Marvin's first time watching Rosemary's Baby, and he loved it.
Yep. Big fan.
So next week, we're going to talk about The Killer. Is that the plan?
Oh, yeah.
Really want to see
Killer?
it. Yep. David Fincher, new David Fincher movie. Starring Michael Fassbender. After a fatal near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal.
This is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. It's a David Fincher movie. There's a 0% chance it's not going to be good.
You know that Thanksgiving Killing movie comes out on like the 17th or something?
Yeah, it's like a slasher movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Dusty, any ideas?
I saw the trailer for that when I went to see Saw.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Dusty, any ideas on what you're going to pick for Make Marvin Watch this month?
Not sure yet. I'll have to go through the list and see.
Is there any way I can convince you to make him watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? It's like the quintessential Thanksgiving movie.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Go through the list here and see.
All right. Well, next week is The Killer, folks. Tune in for that if you're interested to see our thoughts on that movie. Again, please consider subscribing. We are dangerously close to that 500 mark. So if you have not done so, consider hitting the sub button. It's free. Keep up with us on our website, harshlanguage.tv, for all our links. And we will be back next week. No more breaks this month. And we appreciate you listening. So we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Costa.